Are you ready to become awesomer? Hello, everyone. My name is Umar. I'm your host on the No Limit Selling podcast, where industry leaders share their tips, strategy, and advice on how you can become better, stronger, faster. Just before we get started, I've got a question for you. Do you have a negative voice inside your head? We all do, right? I'm going to help you remove that voice in under 30 days guaranteed. Not only remove it, but transform it. So instead of the voice that sabotages you, there's one that propels you to much higher levels of performance and success. There's a link in the show notes. Click on it to find out more. All right, let's get started. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the No Limit Selling Podcast. Today we have Isaac Rosenberg. He's in the heart of the universe, New York City. Welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
So it's interesting times in real estate in the city. Give us a snapshot. What's going on? What's working well and what's challenging right now?
Well, everything seems to be challenging right now. It was a fun year from the most part, but definitely a lot of things started shifting over the past few months. With obviously starting with the interest rates, starting with the stock market, the war, and it seems like it took some time for that to catch up, but I feel that it's pretty much caught up. Tables have definitely turned. Buyers are hard to come by these days.
Right.
Back 8 months ago, you would get 5, 10, 15, 20 offers per home, bidding wars, whether it was even for renting or for purchase. On the sale side, that has really, really slowed down. On the rental side, it was still on a tear until about, I would say, a month ago. The last month, it really kind of has slowed a bit. It hasn't come to a screeching halt at all, but it's starting to kind of level out a little bit.
Actually, I've never heard of bidding wars for rental.
Oh, it became the new normal over the past 2 years. In New York, if you weren't bidding on an apartment, it probably wasn't a very good one.
Right. So right now, business still goes on. There's still transactions happening, and real estate agents need to be, more confident and more focused. So, what are some of the ways realtors can, stay in the zone? Because it's a matter of doing the right things consistently is how you achieve success. So, why don't you give us like a list of 5 things that they should be focused on right now?
Well, I'll see if I can come up with 5, but you pretty much nailed it. That's basically the way to stay in the zone is to stay in the zone and stay consistent, because that's the only way it works. I heard a good metaphor recently.
Nice.
If you could brush your teeth once and you were done for the year, if you brush your teeth once a year for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, and be done for the year, that would be great. But obviously, it doesn't work that way. You have to do it every day, a few times a day. And the same thing is with real estate or any sales or anything you want to achieve in life. I think it really is. Most real estate agents know the basic things and know what they do well or what comes more natural to them. But to continue meeting people, continuing to talk to people, continuing the outreach, maybe even, not maybe, definitely stepping it up even, because for the past 2 years, there was so much inbound.
Yeah, people got lazy.
People are definitely lazy, and when the market's good, you really don't need to work that hard to generate business. Now you really have to go out there and earn business. You really have to
Right.
get the business.
So there's a disconnect between knowing what to do and actually doing it.
Actually,
And, I work with a lot of realtors, and sometimes, that's the crux of the issue is like something within them stops them from doing the things they want to do. And so, have you ever had one of those situations in your life where you were like not executing at the level you want? And how did you, A, figure that out? And B, what method did you use to kind of break through that barrier?
so my entire life, I've not been executing at the level I would want. I always feel I should be doing more and I could be doing more, and no matter what I achieve, I don't feel like it's enough, which is probably the greatest blessing and the biggest curse. But that's who I am. Um, Having said that, I think every day I feel I should be executing at a higher level.
Yeah,
Some days you have it in you, some days not. For me, I think what's important is to understand certain days you have your A game, certain days you don't. Every day I try to move every single thing I have going on one step ahead, obviously, right?
that's the secret to success.
And even when I don't feel like it, it's like get on the phone and try to move it one step forward. You don't have to finish the deal today, you don't have to make the deal happen. But one day of not paying attention to something, not trying to move it forward, costs you a week, it costs you a month. Like everything just starts falling down. So I mean, Michael Jordan didn't score 40 points every night.
Right.
He had games where he scored 40 points, and he had a lot of games where he only scored 20, 20, 25, and he's the greatest player to ever play. Um, because he didn't have games where he scored 40 and games where he scored zero. So I feel like we all have 40 point games, and we all have games where we really don't show up. But if you can show up just enough to do absolutely the
Even if you could
minimum,
do like 2 points in a game,
yeah, you
but
do it
taking that
some.
effort. So for me personally, like I like working out. So I'm not like a big muscle guy, but it just makes me happy. And one of the reasons I do that so consistently is I am afraid that if I don't do it for 2 days in a row, then I won't do it for the next 2 weeks. And then after 2 weeks, it might be another month before I get back into it. And it'll take so much effort to get back to do it. So I just consistently do it every day. It's just part of the routine and just makes it easy. And I think for realtors, that time of talking with potential customers and past customers should be that touchstone every day. It's like, I prospect, therefore I am.
It's the more you're in the business, the more number one you're in the business and have what to talk about, know what to talk about, have the confidence to talk about it. Take a week off and you're done.
Yeah. So my sister, when she was in this field, it was like she does display windows and layouts in stores. And I said, "That's not your job." And she goes, "Oh, what do you mean? It's not my job." I said, "That's the candy. The job is getting clients, and you get the privilege of doing the creative work.
Yeah.
And if you think the job is the creative work, then you're not doing the prospecting. And that way is a great way to be a starving artist and fulfill a cliche."
Yeah. It's a means to an end.
All right. So how long you been in the industry?
6 years.
16 years?
Six. No.
Six, but it feels like 16. I get that.
Yeah, sometimes.
So, what's the biggest lesson you've learned in this 6 years?
One biggest lesson might be difficult, but something that I wish I not only knew, but really paid attention to every single day since I got into the business is that every person you meet, every hand you shake is a potential $50,000, $100,000 lifelong client, obviously depending on the market you're in. Um,
Right.
and it usually doesn't show up day one. It'll take 12, 6, 12, 18, 24, 36, or maybe even a lot more than that. But if you, the way I see it is real estate is for some people, a part-time job. There's
Right.
no part-time about it. It's a full-time job. And if you do it full-time and you know that 5, 6, 7 days a week, 9 to 5, 9 to 7, 9 to 9, whatever your hours are. It doesn't really obviously have to have set hours, but that within those times, you're a real estate agent, you're a real estate professional, and every day you look to add value to consumers, whether it is helping them understand the rental market, the sales market, selling, buying, whatever it is. If you continue doing that every single day, it adds up. So for most people, when they go to work in a 9 to 5 job, they get paid for every hour they're there or a salary. They don't
Hmm.
think. at the end of the day or at the end of the week, oh, I worked for nothing because they got a salary. With For real estate agents, it should be the same thing, because if you put in all of that work, you're gonna get a salary. It's gonna be way bigger than most salaries, or it should be. And it doesn't come in the form of a W-2, but it is a salary. It's the salary you're getting paid for doing all that work consistently every day. And you never know where it's going to come from, but if you keep doing the things you know that you need to do, it comes around.
Brilliant. One of the things, we've talked to a lot of giants in the industry, and one of the things they say, the first thing about real estate, it's a job. You need to work hard. You
100%.
can't be like, oh, well, I'm going to do this and see what happens. It's like, hey, treat it as a job and work hard, and this is how you build a successful career. And people that are really good at this still prospect every single day.
So I agree with all of that, except for me, I would change it. It's not a job. You're building a business. You're
Right.
building a career. Most people do their job just over broke, right? Just enough not to be fired.
Mhm.
All those things. If you do real estate with that attitude, you won't do well. It's a business. Like for me, after a couple of years in the business, I was like, I don't want to only be able to make as many dollars as I have hours, because that's even within real estate, you're still trading time for money.
Right.
You can only show 10 homes a day or whatever it is. So the only way to change that is to create a business rather than have a job.
Brilliant. So, how many transactions did you do last year?
Last year being 2021,
Yeah.
I don't remember, and that's something I should be able to answer. Um, and I'm numbers are very, very important, and I'm not a big numbers guy. But what I can tell you is in 2022, I've done about 100 transactions.
Which is freaking amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you. So I made a lot more money on about 5 of those transactions than the 95 other ones. The 95 other ones is building my business and paying
Right.
for my business. The 5 is paying for my investments and everything else. And they're both equally important. It's the chance to scale, and with five transactions, even any amount of dollars, you're not scaling. There's no need to.
Right.
But with 100 transactions, the only way you can do that consistently is by scaling.
Absolutely. One of the things you mentioned earlier was, you could be doing better. And so mindset is like such a critical piece. And there's so many thoughts around mindset. It's like, affirmations. And I love affirmations for this one basic reason. If I said, I'm incredibly attractive to women, I'm incredibly attractive, I can say it a lot. That's not going to make it true. But one of the things it is going to do is this, is that after the third time I say it, especially if it's not true, then an inner voice comes up and says, who are you kidding? And the trick to greatness is finding where that voice comes from, what it's connected to. So one of the things I do with realtors is very much help them figure out where they're stuck. And a recent client, it's like, what's the issue? And it was a similar issue. And the issue was, I've kind of lost I know I could be doing a lot better not doing it. And the very first thing we found was one part of his mindset is like, I know I could be great at this. And as he's telling me that, strong voice, strong gestures. And then he goes like this with the other hand. But it's been like a really tough year and things haven't been going well, and change of tone, gestures are weak on this side. But Umar, I know I can do this. And as soon as someone does that, there's inner conflict.
There's something holding them back.
And one part, they know what they want. The other part, you don't deserve. You're not good enough or whatever. And that's what we resolved. And for him, it's like confidence is off the charts. He just told me a story today because it's like one issue, 1 month resolved. Have a nice day. Move on with your life. And he said, there's a client of mine. And as I was going to another client, before I turned the corner, we didn't sell their house. And I just knew there was going to be a soul sign on their house. And they didn't come back to me to do it. He said, I turned the corner and sure enough, there was soul sign there. And in the past, that would have like totally bummed me out for like a week. He says, but it just didn't impact me. I just went to my open house. I sold that house on that open house. and just the mindset was like totally off the charts positive. And I think that's kind of what I want to do for the world, is really teach people how to take charge of this, because mindset is the number one determining factor how well we do in life. So let me ask you, Isaac, tell me about where you felt the strongest, like doing real estate, like one of those transactions where you just felt, baby, I can do anything. Tell me about that transaction.
I mean, every single transaction I've ever done, from $2,000 a month to $6 million purchases.
So
When
tell me one where you really kind of connected with the buyers and this was like really important to you. All of them are important. Was there one that stands
so
out?
my biggest sale this year was a $6 million purchase where I represented the buyer, and the buyers were moving from the West Coast. Husband flew in for 3 days, showed him 40 homes in 3 days. He flew
Wow.
back. Yep, flew back. Wife came. I showed her, the 10 winners
Winners, yeah.
of the 40 plus one that we couldn't get into the week before. She fell in love with that home.
The
The minute,
plus one?
the one that the husband didn't see. The minute we walked into that home, and I always say the sale starts from the initial contact. Every
Mhm.
sale, doesn't matter who you're selling, which side of the transaction you're on, but that was in the height of the market. Market was insane here. You couldn't, like, every single home had 5 offers over ask, etc. So we walked in. The minute we walked in with their daughter. The daughter stole the show. Stole the show. She's like 2 years old,
Oh,
cute,
wow.
cute dress. Stole the show. Right? The listing agents fell in love with her. So that was the start. Then she went home telling her husband, "This is the home." Husband had to fly back from the West Coast to see it, but we had started offering somehow, and I still don't know what I did right, but we outbid, technically, except our bid wasn't higher, another agent who was bidding on that home for a family member. And I just have to believe that, because every step of that transaction up to then, I did everything that I believe is the right way to do it. I was transparent. I was friendly. I wasn't being like, a lot of people in this business feel like they have to flex their egos. I was doing none of that. I was letting my clients, two
So
year old,
being yourself, the authentic Isaac showed up to play.
that, but also even pulling out a trick, letting the 2 year old charm the agents. And it works. Why? Because it just does. We like little kids, they're cute. And we somehow got that home for 100 or 200 grand less than
Highest offer?
the other agent who was offering for their family. I mean, like,
All right. So Isaac, in that transaction, where did you feel the happiest, the most powerful? Was it when you got the deal? Was it when the customer found out? Was
when
it
I
before?
when I was on the phone, and by no means was I trying to convince my buyer to come up almost 200 grand on top of his original offer, but I was on the phone, and I wanted him to come home because I knew by far that it was the best home. Like, that's the home they wanted. And I was asking him to come up a lot, but also we weren't going to go up as much as the other people were, and
Nice.
he agreed to it. And I don't feel like I ever sold him on it. I think he was sold on it himself. I would never try to convince somebody to spend $6 million. I want them to convince themselves. But it felt absolutely incredible getting that deal
So
done.
do me a favor. Take a deep breath in for a moment, let it out slowly. And I want you, as best as you can, go back to that moment when the guy said, okay, let's move forward. I'm going to come up to where you want. And you guys get that deal. So go back to that moment when you found out you got that deal. And I want you to see whatever you saw. It could have been your office, wherever you happen to be. And then I
14th
want you
Street
to,
corner.
yeah, and I want you to hear that conversation in your head. When you do those two things, when you found out you won and that's going on, where in your body do you feel that really good feeling?
My bank account.
Hallelujah. Praise the Lord. That's what real estate's all about.
I said that because it's obviously not the full truth. I feel that in a lot of places, but I don't know if I can identify a place in
Right.
my body.
Cool.
So that all happened, and then I closed, or they closed, months afterwards, and that's when you get the check. Um, by the time you get the check, the excitement's not even there anymore.
Oh, makes perfect sense. So is when you got the go ahead. So cool. Thanks for sharing that story. Before we part company, I got 3 questions for you. Number one, what's a piece of advice you'd give realtors in this market to be more confident, be more powerful?
Know that you have good intentions and go all out on it.
Yeah, the intent is so important.
If
Number
you know
two,
that
what
you're looking out for their best interest, you can't go wrong.
brilliant. Number two, what brings you joy in your work?
Having my client's best interest.
Nice. One trick pony, I like that.
I mean, just because it goes back to the intention. If you know it's dying on your sword, you know that you're doing everything you can for their best interest. What else can you possibly do?
Yeah, I love that. What's one thing you wish you could do better? Like in you as a realtor, if you could wave a magic wand, what's that one thing you want to be able to do that would just ignite happiness, success, and let you reach the potential you want? What's the one change?
Reach my potential.
But what's stopping you, do you think? Do you know what's stopping you? Or if you could figure that out and you could break through that, that would be like significant.
So, being more consistent, the question is what I can do to become more consistent.
Consistent?
No, not
Cool.
persistent, consistent.
Yeah, absolutely. Superb. Isaac, thank you so much for being on the program. I really appreciate it. And I'm looking forward to our next conversation.
Sounds good. Thank you so much.
If you enjoyed this episode, please go to iTunes and leave a 5-star rating. And if you're looking for more tools, go to my website at nolimitselling.com. I've got a free mind training course there that's going to teach you some insights from the world of neuro-linguistic programming, and that is the fastest way to get better results.